What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Monday, October 6th, 2025, and we are back with another live here on the Tonya Ramey Loaded channel. If you have not done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new. And if you are new to the channel, I'm glad that you are here. Hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. I would greatly appreciate it. Or simply join the Discord and you can get the notifications in there. Shout out to everyone in the chat, especially all the mods, all the members, and everybody over there on Patreon. I'm glad that you are all here. So as y'all can see by the title, we are going to expand more into this Kyren Lacy situation, more so going over the statement that his attorney made. And, you know, we touched a little bit on it on Saturday for the weekly recap, but what y'all didn't know was that there's a whole 45-minute conversation that Kyren Lacy's attorney, who was the man that you see in the thumbnail, was having with a reporter, where they were breaking down why Kyren Lacy was innocent. Some of y'all have probably already seen some clips that have come from it, but we're going to go over the entire video. And like I said, the video itself is about 45.5 minutes long. So make sure y'all strap in. Make sure if y'all got any snacks, any drinks, all of that good stuff, make sure y'all have it, because we're going to be here for a little bit. And then, of course, you know, at the end, I'll drop the link in if anybody would like to come up and discuss. We will go ahead and do that. Hopefully, we can get through this in probably like the next hour and a half to 2 hours. But before we get into all that, let me acknowledge those who are here so far in the chat. We got Hacksign KT, we got Church, Andrea Jones, Ms. Nisi, Eddie Foster, Sybil, Lana L, Tamika's Den, D Money, Brother Man to You, Anthony Phillips, Dewani, D, the My Voice channel, Anthony, I think I said Anthony already, Mr. Williams, Felicia, and that is it so far. But shout out to everybody that is here so far, and anyone else that might be coming a little bit later on in the chat. Now, the crazy part about it is I already had a live plan for today, but it wasn't this one. It was going to be something else, but I said this one was more important than the one that I was going to have for today. So the one I have for today, I'm going to do tomorrow. So y'all will be getting another live tomorrow at the same time. But that one's going to be more comedic, I would say. When you understand what I'm talking about, you'll see tomorrow. But this one was more serious, and I felt like this one held more weight, in my opinion. All right, shout out to we got Cosmo Fury just popped in. We got MML just came into the building. I'm glad that you all are here. Speaking of Discord, I need to find a way to set up my Discord to connect to my Patreon. It's a way to do it, and I think I had it before, but I disconnected it. I don't know why I did that, but I'll worry about that a little bit later. So not to waste any more time, I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen so we can go ahead and get this thing started, because like I said, the video is 45.5 minutes long. I did speed it up a little bit, but not to the point where you feel like you're listening to Ben Shapiro just be a motor mouth. So let's go ahead and get this thing started.
You buy Terrebonne Ford, built Kyren Lacy's involvement or non-involvement in a wreck that took place, which took the life of a very popular man, Mr. Hall. And it was well documented, went national. It was talked about, it was written about, it was blogged about, it was all over the nation. So I did tell Mr. Ori back then, and I also tell everyone involved in this, whether you're an attorney or whether you're part of the investigation, you're always welcome to tell your story on HTV. So I told Mr. Ori, if you have anything to add to the story at any point, please give me a holler and we'll get you on. So joining me now is Matt Ori, attorney, and good to see you, Matt. Thank you for coming.
Good to see you, Martin. Thank you for having me.
Did you compile anything new?
I've got everything. I've got every piece of evidence I have viewed. I've examined every piece of evidence, which includes all surveillance, all body cam footage, and most importantly, the investigative report that was generated and manufactured by the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office, according to the data that they obtained.
In that report, which is independent of you, you know, when I was going through it and looking at some of these things in it, I think you'll probably go over where they were, because I see you brought a board where you're going to depict where all of them were during the incident. And you have all that information to sort of explain where everyone was at, how fast they were going, what they were doing, all of that.
I do. I've got it all here.
Okay. Is most of this reports, or do you have actual video?
At the entirety of the district attorney's findings, their findings after their own investigation. That's what we're here today to present. We're going to compare and contrast those findings with the findings of state police, because there's a ton of confusion. People seem to believe that somehow he hit someone in this accident or possibly even shot through two cars and there was this explosion behind him. I've heard every version possible, but we can show you the version right now.
Okay. Sort of describe the video for our audience, what you've seen in the video.
Yeah, so what you'll see is in the top left of the screen, you're going to see multiple cars just making their way south to Thibodeau, coming from Battery. At some point in time, you're going to see the collision, which we're going to know is vehicle number 2 from oncoming traffic colliding with the vehicle of Mr. Hall. You will see another vehicle come to a stop, and then you'll see Kyren Lacy come to a stop.
So as we've seen the video, it looks like the impact happens, and then Kyren Lacy is behind him. How far away was he from there?
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of the investigative report that I now have my hands on. We know from data that Kyren Lacy did, in fact, pass 4 cars. There's no disputing that. Further north, Kyren Lacy passed 4 cars. However, he was back in his lane of travel, 92.3 yards. Back in his lane, behind Mr. Hall. At the time of impact, he's 72.6 yards behind the vehicles at the time.
Brother and said, "Is this real footage or fake?" This is real footage. This is the footage that they buried. Like, they buried this footage. This is all new to a lot of people, but this footage is very real. This is surveillance footage.
Time of impact. Keyword, behind the vehicles. That is not how this story was ever painted. Never.
Any part of the district attorney's investigation that talked about Mr. Lacy getting back, I guess we call it, what do you call it, correcting or getting in your proper lane?
Sure, he was back in his proper lane according to their data. This isn't my expert. This is the investigation of the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office. So I'm here simply comparing and contrasting the District Attorney's Office with state police in this matter, their investigations. And in that investigation, it shows that he was back in his correct lane of travel, 92.3 yards. Before this incident occurred, he was back in his lane.
What does the legal law state about where you should be behind? Or I want to say, I thought it was 100 feet. Is that correct?
It is correct. You know, take out the fact here that it's a no passing zone. If it weren't at this time, it's 100 feet. What we know now is he was 3 times legally what he needed to be back in his lane of traffic.
Where was everybody involved in this? And I see you brought something that you could visibly show everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like I stated, if we're looking at this, and of course this isn't to scale, and I can't draw, but what you see here is vehicle 3. That is Mr. Hall's vehicle. This is another vehicle between Mr. Lacy and Mr. Hall.
Okay.
This is the gold truck that's referenced in the report. This is heading north. So this is the lead vehicle heading north. And the vehicle that actually collided with Mr. Hall's vehicle, that would be vehicle 2. All right. So through the course of this now, we start investigating and dissecting everything we possibly can. When we do that, we start with vehicle 2, right? So what do I know now about vehicle 2? Vehicle 2 was tailgating, all right? According to the data, again, of the district attorney's office, not me, according to their data, tailgating at 49.6 miles an hour, 0.5 seconds behind the gold truck.
And let me just pause. And there's going to be some pauses in here between, because I just wanted to go over some things. Let me tell you something right now. That is exactly why you do not drive so close behind somebody when you're driving, because you don't know if that person is going to slam on their brakes and you're going to bump right. That's an instant collision. Like, there's no way you're going to get out of not bumping into the back of that person. And they said, excuse me, he said this person was tailgating. They were very, very close to this person's bumper. Now, you saw on the diagram that he drew up, Kyren Lacy was so far away. He had the most distance between him and all the other vehicles that were involved with this crash. He was nowhere near it.
1.5 seconds before the crash. So again, if that did make sense, she is following 0.5 seconds behind this vehicle, 0.5 seconds behind that vehicle, 1.5 seconds before the crash at over 49 miles an hour. 0.5. That's what happens when you tailgate. Now, interestingly enough, this vehicle was actually, when this woman was in the ambulance, they issued her a ticket. All right. You know for what? Take a wild guess. Following too close. They even told her it's in your personal belongings. Fast forward. Another trooper comes and is looking for that particular ticket. And that ticket, they told her, Something may happen to the ticket. Don't worry about it. Sure enough, something happened.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? She only got a ticket for driving too close. Not the collision, but for driving too close. That already lets you know right there that the wheels were in motion of what they were preparing to do. That was only phase one. They had no plans of getting the main culprit behind this incident, behind this accident. None. Just based off of that right there.
Happened to that ticket down the road, right? The ticket now needs to fit a better narrative. And that ticket now says crossing left of center. Why? Why? The black box is telling me. The data from the district attorney's office tells me you're traveling 0.5 seconds at 49.6 miles an hour, 1.5 seconds before the accident. That's not tailgating? Now, what we're looking at, this isn't speculation. Through this, we hear there's story after story. Actually, vehicle 2's story got bigger and bigger and bigger until we now have their data, right? So when we get our hands on it, I'm looking at the data from that particular vehicle. That data in that vehicle shows me 5 seconds previous to this crash. 5. I'm looking at it, and you're going to show it. 5 seconds previous to this crash, she maintained a speed of 49.6 miles an hour, never activating the EBS system until 0.5 seconds before the crash. Why is that important? Because if your story, which we'll get into, keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you had all this time to see the gold truck, in her words, stomp on their brakes, slam on their brakes, come to a stop, veer off the road. I see another vehicle approaching. I see the Charger approaching. Well, my question to you now becomes, how did you see that vehicle approaching, or him stop, or him slam on his brakes, yet your data says you never touched your brake prior to 0.5 seconds before that crash? I'm looking right now. So are you at the last 5 seconds, according to her. Her car's black box, not mine, not my expert. That's her car. So if you're going to tell me a 5 to 10 second elaborate story, it needs to make sense. And when you have the data, not only doesn't it add up, it's not possible. Notice on there, Martin, it says 75 degrees, right? You turn 75 degrees to the left all of a sudden. That's what happens when you tailgate. Now, interestingly enough, this vehicle was actually, when this woman was in the ambulance, they issued her a ticket. All right. You know for what? Take a wild guess. Following too close. Data from the district attorney's office tells me you're traveling 0.5 seconds at 49.6 miles an hour, 1.5 seconds before the accident. That's not tailgating? That's not following too close? Of course it is. Ticket was taken away.
The ticket was taken away. So they gave her a ticket for following too close, and then they took it back. Like Church said earlier, the fix was already in.
I'm looking at the data, and I'm learning some new things here. So the 75, the steering input at 75 to the left.
That's correct.
Any indicate that, I would guess 75 on a scale of 100. That's a pretty hard turn to the left.
It's a very hard turn to the left. The gold truck, the lead vehicle in oncoming traffic, who, by the way, is probably one of the two most important witnesses in this entire case. We know now that 2.99 seconds prior to him pulling off the road, he was traveling 28 miles an hour. 28 miles an hour. Now, you're going to hear his statement in a little while, and it's going to all make sense. But let's be very clear right now for the intent and purposes of what we're doing. There are two vehicles that we're talking about right now that are traveling north. The second vehicle in oncoming traffic, which is vehicle 2, their data says she is tailgating. She is 0.5 seconds at 49.6 miles an hour.
Now, let me pause it right here. This is the car that he's referencing that is tailgating. Right here, he has gold truck. Look at how close they are in this diagram. Literally bumper to bumper. He said 0.5 miles off of this vehicle, this gold truck that he's referencing. Kyren Lacy's all the way up here. Yet somehow he was the one that got blamed for what happened all up in here. And shout out to Lisa Mincy for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it.
1.5 seconds before the crash. And you saw her data, 50.3 to 49.6.
Yeah, so she stayed at 49.6 until 0.5 seconds. And then
there's a variation of less than a mile per hour.
Yeah.
It's 0.7, I believe.
Right. Did she give any police report or anything?
Oh, absolutely. So
let's talk about that a little bit.
We will. This particular individual, and for purposes of this report, I'd like you, Morton, this is page 9. If you could follow along to make sure I'm not misquoting a single thing.
All right.
All right. I'm looking at the investigative report of the district attorney's office.
Mhm.
And then here you can see this is their investigator looking at vehicle 2 statements, and now he's analyzing. He says, upon reviewing the body cam video of the trooper from the scene, the following statement was made by, we'll call her vehicle 2, right?
Mhm.
I just know the truck was stomping on brakes. The other was trying to pass the other car. I was trying to dodge by not hitting him, by coming around. When the trooper asked how fast she was going, she replied the speed limit. He next says, I reviewed the recorded interview and the written statement from vehicle 2 while she was in the hospital on January 3rd, 2025. Below is a synopsis of that interview. And the very first, it says, all I can see is that a car is coming this way and the car in front of me. Right before the crash, I'm looking at the pickup truck in front of me. That's all they see for the moment. I'm eating my Funyuns. I got in the middle of my lap and I'm driving. I'm listening to my music. All of a sudden, I see the car get in the other person's lane.
I see so many things wrong just with how she was performing on the road. And there's no way you can tell me she was driving the speed limit if you were that close to that vehicle. There's no way you was driving the speed limit. And it says you was eating Funyuns. You had them in the middle of your lap and you was listening to your music. There's a whole bunch of distractions that's going on in this woman's car right now. Anthony said, is he the attorney? Yes, he's the attorney. I was getting ready. I didn't want to stop it, but yeah, you was crashing out a little bit in the chat. But yeah, the person who's talking, who's giving this information is the attorney. He's the one that's bringing all of this new information to light. And it's basically because of him that basically cleared Kyren Lacy and made of any wrongdoing. And now he's innocent. The unfortunate part, though, unfortunately, is that Kyren Lacy is not here to see himself become innocent because of all the backlash that he dealt with online from all the bullying and the threats and everything. And he unfortunately took his own life. That's the unfortunate part.
The truck, end quote, steps on his brakes. First, so it slows down, but then he does it again. And this time it's really hard. That's when you can see on the other side, the car is trying to get back over. But before you can get over, the truck stops in the middle, like on the brakes hard. There's another car that runs damn near into the pole. It's either I run into him or I try to get out the way. So I'm trying to get into the dollar store parking lot. Then the other car just comes and slams into me. The trooper asked vehicle 2, whenever you're looking forward or the cars in front of you, they swerve off to the right before you make your left, or you're looking at a green Charger coming at you. Or, in end of quotes. Vehicle 2 responded with, the green Charger came, and then the car behind me, behind them, the truck, the van, whatever. The trooper does not ask any further follow-up questions to get a better understanding of what she was saying for this answer. Now, remember, I'm reading what the investigator's saying. Mm-hmm. When vehicle 2 states the truck stops in the middle of the road, like on the brakes hard, this statement indicates that the gold truck stopped in the middle of the lane and not, in quotes, swerving off to the right. This would also show that vehicle 2 would have steered to the left to avoid contact with the gold truck and not Kyren Lacy. During this interview with the trooper, vehicle 2 made several statements that do not match the submitted report or written statement. Instead of questioning vehicle 2 for more details, the trooper attempted to recap what she was saying, which seems to contradict her statements. While doing this, the trooper is the first to talk about the gold truck swerving off to the right. Then when it came to obtaining the written statement, the trooper tells vehicle 2 what to document on the statement as she is writing.
I have 2 questions here. One, I'd like to know more about the statement that she made to the trooper. The other one would be, do we have any data on the gold truck?
2.99 seconds before the gold truck eases off to the road.
Okay.
Eases off of the road.
Right.
He's traveling at 28 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pause it right here because a lot of people didn't know this. Yes, unfortunately, back in April, right before he was supposed to go, I think before a jury, he ended up taking his own life. I think back in April. And the reason why you probably didn't hear about it is because in April, everyone was talking about what was going on with Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, because that just happened. So that's what the news or the people online was projecting or putting out there in heavy rotation. And then this happened in, I want to say, did this happen in Louisiana? Someone please let me know. If it did, you're talking about a neighboring state. But that's why you didn't hear too much about it. And then the incident itself happened in January of this year, I think January 3rd, 2 days after New Year's. But when he took his life, it was at the end of April. So that's probably why you didn't hear about it. I said that's the unfortunate part because, like someone said in the chat, he's being vindicated, but he's not alive to actually see it happened in real time. Okay, so it did happen in Louisiana. Appreciate you.
That all is in this report.
Yeah, that's my question.
You watch someone slam on their brakes. You watch them stop. You watched a car chart coming at you in your lane of traffic, but you never thought to just tap the brakes? Really?
No.
Data is accurate. The black box is accurate. That says that you never touched your brakes. You never touch your brakes the last 5 seconds until 0.5 seconds before the impact. That's their data. It's not mine.
Proceed. What did you find out after that?
So what I was curious about here, most importantly to me, in terms of the oncoming traffic, right? So I'm looking at that gold truck. I want to know what they said, when they said it, what were the circumstances, how did this come about? And this is where it really starts tying together, right? The gold truck, they end up getting a statement from this individual. There's two of them. The very first one, what I noticed on the body cam was that the conversation was going on for 4 minutes and approximately 30 seconds prior to the body cam being activated. And of course, when the body cam's activated, I don't know what you said those previous 4.5 minutes, they end up at this individual's house to obtain a statement. I want to play right now how that statement started.
All right, so now it's about to go into that body cam footage that I think most people, if they never saw this whole video, they definitely saw this part. I think I played this on my weekly recap on Saturday.
Okay, let's roll that in.
I want y'all to listen closely to what's about to be said, just in case y'all never heard this before.
All right, sir. So, look, don't worry about filling any of this top information, like your name, address. Don't worry about any of that. Just right here, if you could, I'll just have you write exactly what you saw. Just make sure to include, where you were.
I don't know what the name of that highway.
So Highway 20. Highway 20. That you just.
All right, me and my wife gonna figure out right quick.
Okay, just make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes and the brakes, you had to slam on the brakes to avoid that charger and the brakes locked up to avoid that charger. That's.
I ain't skid mark or nothing. I wasn't even going for it.
You hear what the cop just said, right? He said, make sure to include on there that you had to slam on your brakes to avoid the charger. Remember, Kyren Lacy was driving a green Charger, but Kyren Lacy's car was not anywhere near this gold truck. So the cop is coercing him into putting something down that did not happen.
In the back of me, she didn't know what was happening. That's how she called that record. She was running in the back of me. She pulled on the other side.
So, but the charger was coming right at you, correct? And that's why you had to slam on your brake, the head on with you. So yeah, just make sure you include that, and that's very important because we're trying to locate this charger right now. So just include that in the statement, and I'll read it over, and then I'll be out of here.
In that video, you can clearly hear the suggestive nature indicating that I need you to say that you had to slam on your brakes and you had to avoid a charger.
Okay, just make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes and the brakes, you had to slam on the brakes to avoid that charger and the brakes locked up to avoid that charger. That's.
But then you hear Gold Truck, the witness who's the Gold Truck, what he says. And he says verbatim.
I ain't skid mark or nothing. I wasn't even going for it. That lady in the back of me, she didn't know what was happening. That's how she called that record.
You heard it, right? Y'all heard what the guy said. He said that woman in the back of me, she calls the wreckage. Let me run it back just a little bit more, just in case y'all didn't catch it.
And he says verbatim.
I ain't skid mark or nothing. I wasn't even going for it. That lady in the back of me, she didn't know what was happening. That's how she called that record. She was running in the back of me. She pulled on the other side.
I didn't skid marked or nothing because I wasn't even going that fast. That lady in the back of me, she didn't see what's happening. That's how she caused that wreck. She was going to run into the back of me, and she pulled into the other side. But there's a bigger problem. I then obtained the actual written statement.
And this is from the gold truck.
This is the Gold Truck. Now, after the statement we just went through, notice I've obviously redacted names, addresses, and the cell phone number in fairness to the individual who is Gold Truck, number one, in oncoming traffic. See, the problem with that statement is it is in direct contravention to what was said minutes earlier. It's not written by him. And where it says signed, it's not signed. It's refused.
Because remember, the cop told him at the beginning, you don't have to worry about putting your name or anything on there. The fix was in.
But you see, when I have a witness who is the most critical, and he's telling you, I wasn't traveling fast. We know now that he wasn't. The data shows 2.99 seconds before that he was traveling 28 miles an hour. The data shows that. Now he corroborates that. And he goes on to say, I didn't even make a skid mark. That woman behind me, she caused that accident. And you give me this statement that is refused? I got a problem. I got a problem with that. A big one. What he's saying is she had to avoid hitting him. He specifically stated she caused that accident, but I've got an affidavit for arrest warrant right here. Nowhere in here does it say anything that you guys just saw on body cam. To the contrary, about that vehicle, it says the gold truck took evasive action by emergency braking and driving off the roadway to avoid a head-on crash. But you just heard he said, I wasn't even going fast. I didn't even skid mark. So what emergency braking are we referring to here? And what the hell was the point of this report? It is complete opposite. I would expect that you'll show this to where they can read what was said versus what was written just minutes earlier.
Just make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes, and the brakes, like, you had to slam on the brakes to avoid that charger, and the brakes locked up to avoid that charger. That's.
I ain't skid mark or nothing. I wasn't even going for it. The lady in the back of me, she didn't know what was happening. That's how she caused that wreck. She was running in the back of me. She pulled on the other side.
So, but the charger was coming right at you, correct? And that's why you had to slam on your brake, the head on with you. So yeah, just make sure you include that in. That's very important because we're trying to locate this charger right now. So just include that in the statement, and I'll read it over, and then I'll be out of here. Okay.
By the way, the body cam wasn't on for this statement. It was turned off before obtaining this statement. And this is what we get back in a file. This. Remember, Kyren passed. I'll just put X's. This is where Kyren passed, right? He comes here, he passes. He gets back in his lane. Don't you know that one of these witnesses that's in this package actually says in his statement that the Charger passed through the vehicle of Mr. Hall and the gold truck and vehicle 2, and then they collided. I can't make this up. This is what people just don't get to see. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying this intentional. I'm saying people commit to a story and they don't back down. You saw it here, but I'm telling you, you guys saw a video. You just saw a statement where somebody tells them what to say. They tell them that's not what happened. They still give me the statement. And now I got another individual who we won't harp into here because it's so uncredible, right? That one individual, one of the 4 individuals here, they say that they were going 30 to 35 miles an hour when Kyren passed him. He did. There's no disputing that. No one ever did, but he was back in his lane of travel. 92.3 yards back in, 72.6 at the time of impact. When they collide, he is 72.6. Before they collide, he is almost a football field away back in his lane. That's not disputed. What you can see is another car come to a stop, and then Kyren Lacy come to a stop. But you know what's really interesting to me as well is that there was another passenger in Kyren Lacy's car. They knew this. They have video footage of this individual getting out of the car. Why didn't you ascertain his identity? Why would you not want to hear the person with one of the best views of this incident? Why would you make a call? Why would you simply not bring him in for questioning?
And I'm sure you talked to him after.
Of course, I talked to him after. That's exactly what they said. Yeah. It's exactly what they said. Mm-hmm. They actually thought at one point in time that she collided with the gold truck. That's the very first thing they told me, that they thought that this vehicle 2, was trying to get around the 2. As in slide between them, as in, uh-oh. So you can see why. This is just amazing now, what I know, and there's so much more. We've spent hours and hours and hours scouring, but I don't know how else to tell anybody else that this is not mine. I didn't generate this. I didn't manipulate this. I didn't alter it. I didn't manufacture it. I received it from the district attorney's office. I then did my job, and I compare it to the report and the investigation of state police, and it is drastic. It's drastic. The very last line of the report from the district attorney's office says, the evidence submitted in the crash report does not support that Kyren Lacy should have known that his actions were the cause of the crash that happened approximately 72 yards in front of him. And what we know is we never disputed ever that he passed those vehicles. They were in a row, 4 vehicles in a row. We know they were going 30 to 35 miles an hour. He passed them. It was a no passing zone, but he got back in 92.3 yards. He was back in his lane of travel. He was 72 yards behind at the time of impact. We know that now. He was actually the second car to pull up behind, not even the first. At no point in time did he have to slam his brakes. He wasn't even close to the second car. He just eased in. He eased in. He went straight from there to the facility in Trevor for his football practice. But he had no idea he caused this accident because he didn't think he caused the accident. He didn't cause the accident.
When did you get knowledge of it? When did you first get on the case itself? When were you notified?
Weeks after. Remember, from the time of this investigation to when a warrant was
Brother man said, where's the passenger statement? There is no statement because they didn't talk to the passenger. The attorney just said it. He asked, why didn't they get a statement from the passenger? I mean, a person that was right there in the car with him. They never spoke with the passenger. They had and the reason why is because they had no intentions of doing so. That's what had people believing that Kyren Lacy was in the car by himself. That's actually new to me. I didn't know somebody else was in the car with him.
Executed, they were weeks apart, right? And then I get involved after that. By the time I get involved, he's already charged with this. So that's a circumstance that I inherit.
Right.
But, you know, you hear things, you keep your eyes open, you keep your ears open, and you listen, and something wasn't passing the litmus test here. So, you know, when you look back on this and you see actual data, it's not mine, that shows these types of things, and you go as far as a witness saying he split between two vehicles and then there was the spontaneous combustion, it truly should open some eyes, right? That is not even close to what happened.
As you started your discussion with Kyren Lacy, and look, once again, we'll talk about Mr. Hall later in the program because we're not avoiding talking about a veteran, but I want to stay on point here just for a second. When you're talking to Kyren Lacy and he's saying, Matt, I wasn't involved in this. What was his mindset like at the time?
It's horrible. Look, man, you got a young kid that's getting assassinated on public media, social media. He begged me to help him. I was already helping, but it was a consistent deal, obviously, meaning far after representation, begging me to help him. And you move as fast as you can with what you have, right? But there was a defining point for me in this whole situation that I knew he wasn't joking. And he referenced things in football fields. And I know it's easy to look back and say, oh, I bet he never said that. He's deceased now. BS. I'm telling you now what he told me. He said I was a football field. A football field is how we compare things, right? So he's saying when he got back in his lane of traffic, I know I was a football or even a little over a football field over by the time I'm back in my lane. And when I told him that they had video surveillance of this whole thing, it was like he was relieved for a second, because I think in his mind, he thought that which most did. Most people that I talk to think that he actually hit the vehicle or he barely got past him and then they collided. That was a narrative that I heard the most. So in his mind, at least he's looking at this going, okay, somebody can show I was actually watched this accident. I saw it. And he told me there was a car between them. Hell, after I read everything prior to meeting with him and the things that I heard, I'm questioning what's going on here. I'm going, did he just get through and take off like they suggested? You and I read reports earlier. We're looking at all news reports where they say he actually collided with a vehicle.
They did.
They actually said he fled a scene. They actually said he came back to the scene. Do you know how preposterous that is? None of that's true. And he sure as hell never split the difference and barely got through. And then there was some big explosion. It's not what happened. Kyren Lacy passed 4 vehicles. There's no question, in a row. Nobody ever disputed that. But it's now undisputed that he got back in 92.3 yards. Now, interestingly enough, the report indicates that at 120.4 yards, he was already entering back into the lane, right? The reason they reference that is they say in this report, the district attorney's office, their investigation yielded that at that time, Kyren and vehicle number 2, all right, 1.5 seconds before the accident or 120.4 yards apart.
So it said 120.4 yards, not feet.
All this is yards. This is not feet.
It's a big difference.
The only footage we have discussed, you and I today, is what's legally required when you pass a vehicle.
100 feet.
You have to be back in your lane of traffic 100 feet. He was over 300 feet. I'll be the first to admit that particular law does not say when you're in a no passing zone. Be clear. He passed 4 vehicles in a no passing zone. Never been disputed. Not once. Did I ever dispute that or anybody else? But the big narrative spun was, and this is very important, that he was actively passing at the time of this accident. That is extremely important. We know now that is 100% false. In the conclusion of the district attorney's report,
What page, John? I'm going to follow it.
This is on page 12.
Okay, let me get to 12 here. Okay, go ahead.
They state in here that they gave the impression that Kyren Lacy was actively passing vehicles when the crash occurred, which is incorrect. He did pass 4 vehicles, but was back in the southbound lane before the crash occurred. And now we know, according to this data, that was 72.6 yards as it's stated in this report.
when I think at one point while we were talking, you indicated to me that Kyren was very close to being vindicated on this matter. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in my opinion, I had a very good idea of enough started adding up to me to know that there were holes all over this thing, right? So it's the policy of the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office that all homicides go to a grand jury. We were nearing that grand jury, right? Where all of this was coming out. Everything I'm telling you now is going to be presented to a grand jury in a fair, neutral, and impartial manner.
So there's the answer to the question. I think Brother Man to you was asking, why is it coming out so late? He just said it. What they were presenting, what he's telling us now was going to be presented to that grand jury back in April. But unfortunately, he ended up taking his life. Thus, they didn't have to do the grand jury because they're at the time their prime suspect, quote unquote, was no longer alive. So that's why we're just hearing about this now, months later.
So, in my opinion, this never survives a grand jury. Never, never, ever survives a grand jury. We were 48 hours from that, from this report getting to the grand jury, right? So it is the process. They moved it as quickly as they could. And by that, I just mean, it was done just like, which is the right thing to do, like every other case. It was done fair and square where, look, we have a homicide. We have to go through this process. The only promise that Ms. Russell made to myself and civil counsel for Mr. Hall was that she would complete the investigation and immediately set it for grand jury out of fairness to both. And she did that. She did exactly what she promised she would do. Insofar as an investigation, we had no idea what a result would be on her end. No clue. Mm-hmm. We just knew it was being done. They didn't sit on it for some amount of time. They worked it thoroughly, but in the time manner that they could, and they set it for grand jury just like they promised. So we couldn't have asked for more from a office who has always been and will always be just extremely fair, right? I mean, that's all you can ask for. There's no fault on their part. There's certainly no fault whatsoever on the part of Mr. Hall. That's a wonderful family. Believe me, it's not easy for me to get up here right now. There's a man who passed away other than Kyren Lacy, and his life was just as important as Kyren Lacy.
And that was one thing I regretted. And I would tell the family that I didn't spend enough time talking about Mr. Hall. He's deceased, and just that's paying our respects to their family too, because they're grieving and naturally they're going through a lot of turmoil too. But of course, I guess what we're looking for on this show is, and I think everyone would want it. I don't care which side you're on. You just want the truth.
I just want the accurate truth, right? What one thing, and I hate to, in fact, I'm not going to harp on it again, but you're right. That's all we're after here is a better picture of the truth. That's it. Never, what do you get me up here to try and put a black eye on state police? Look, man, these guys got a tough job. Mm-hmm. Tough job. There's some excellent, wonderful individuals, more than I can ever imagine, actually. I enjoy working with them. That's not my point here. But I hold myself accountable. I hold everyone that I come across accountable. They get no pass from me either. That doesn't mean they're bad people, right? That's not what we're here to say. That's not what I'm saying. I've never said that. I never will. I'm simply here to compare and contrast. Now, the findings of the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office versus the findings of state police. We have a vast difference.
Let me go a little step further because I want to go to Houston a little bit because, there and again, I mean, if you watch Facebook or you listen to social media, you're going to get 20 different reasons why Kyren Lacy took his life. And I'm going to go out on a limb because I figure you probably know the truth on this matter. Is there anything that you would like to set straight about the Houston part of this story?
This is about to be new to me. I didn't know there was a Houston part. Did anyone in the chat know there was a Houston part? Because I didn't know. This right here that I'm about to hit is actually brand new to me.
I don't know that the Houston part of this story didn't upset me more than the front end. Let me just say this. Kyren Lacy went to Houston that Friday with his mind made. He was suffering. There was a point in time that night at his apartment, the apartment that he, his little brother, and his cousin were in. His mind was made. He wanted the keys to that vehicle to, I don't know how to say this, to
take his life.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it happened at. See, I didn't know where he took it. I'm thinking that he just might have been somewhere in the state. I didn't know he was in Houston when this happened. So this is all new to me.
So it's either you give me my keys and I do this on my own accord, or this is going to go down right here, right now. Obviously, the keys were given. A welfare call was made. Keyword, welfare check, right? There was no crime. There's none of that, man.
Mm-hmm.
No drugs, none of that BS. Kid's mind was made. You know the rest of the story.
So he told whomever he was with that was the place and time. Wasn't there a shot fired or something?
That's how he got his keys. I think that's how you're showing him. And by the way, the shot was fired in the ground on purpose to let them know the seriousness of what was going on in his head.
So he wanted their attention.
He wanted his keys.
Yeah.
And they knew not to give him his keys. They knew what was going to happen. But what are you going to do? You going to watch it go down, or are you going to give him his keys?
Right.
His mind was made. Social media killed him. Killed him.
Mm-hmm.
All those tough guys behind the computer,
Yep.
same ones that come after me when I do this interview,
Mhm.
those guys.
A young man could not get used to it.
They're kids, man.
Yeah.
The difference between you and I, Martin, and them,
Mhm.
they don't know anything else other than those devices.
Right.
You especially. I'm a little bit younger, but even myself, that's a later deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they know. They can't get away from them.
Mhm.
And they believe what these people say. They believe it.
Right.
It doesn't matter what I showed you today. There are going to be people that are going to talk horribly about him, horribly about me. Life is such, but I have a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who is in the way of that. You have to do what you have to do. Whatever consequences come my way from this, so be it.
And I'm hearing you loud and clear. He, in his own mind, and I'm speculating, he was already prosecuted in his own mind.
That's correct. He's already prosecuted.
And we can only imagine wasn't the Vikings about to draft him?
I had talked to the Saints. I had talked to the Vikings. Not that I'm his agent by any stretch,
No,
but
no.
there were teams reaching out to learn about this matter. That really liked him. But they obviously wanted to know what was going on. I did the best that I could to tell them and advise them the grand jury was set for this particular day. We didn't make it there, though. So Kyren Lacy is going to change the way things are done. He's going to make people think twice about what they say before they say it. Not everybody.
Hold on. I'm glad he came back and said not everybody, because let's be real here. When you got the usual suspects, when you give them a keyboard, whether it's in front of a laptop, on a computer, or on a smartphone, they already ready to go. I mean, look at what happened with Carmelo Anthony. I didn't know anything about that story until Matt Walsh got his hot air balloon headed self on social media and tried to make it seem like Carmelo Anthony took out Austin Metcalf because he was white. That was my first interaction with that story. Something that should have been seen more so as an isolated incident got blown up because of people like Matt Walsh with an agenda.
Somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Kyren Lacy makes someone think twice before the next investigation to say, hold on, maybe we got to look at a few other things here, right? Maybe let's not jump to conclusions. Thoroughly review. Just maybe somebody else is saved from the same exact thing. Maybe thousands.
I do offer all other sides a chance to come. They can debate it or rebut or whatever.
To this day, formal charges were never accepted by the district attorney. This is over. There's no
Done.
criminal proceeding.
Done.
This is about making a promise to a kid who begged you to help him. You make a promise, you follow through on that promise.
Mhm.
It's nothing more, nothing less to tell the world Kyren Lacy's version. He never got to tell the world his version.
Okay.
We just did that.
Wow. Have you spoken to his family?
I did. I met with him after obtaining everything, thoroughly going through it, watching videos, listening to statements. We've seen everything. And, it just brings back a lot of memories. Same for Mr. Hall's family. I know it brings back some memories you guys don't want to recall. Same for the Lacy family.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, you got two very important lives that were lost. Nothing's going to bring that back, either one of them.
Mhm.
So I talked to him. You can about imagine how it went. Very cordial, though.
Mm-hmm.
No yelling, no throwing, none of that. A lot of crying.
Right.
As I suspect Mr. Hall's family does the same thing, rightfully so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not fun for anybody, to be quite frank.
And that's the hardest part about doing an interview like this is you have so many people involved, and Kyren Lacy just happens to be such a high-profile person that I know the Halls grieving. And once again, if I had any regrets from the first interviews, that I didn't talk about Mr. Hall. And from what I heard, he was a tremendous man and just great storyteller, good person. But
Class act family.
It's just, it seems to be a tragedy all the way around.
It is.
When you really look at it.
It is. There's no winners here. There never will be. The class that Mr. Hall's family has exhibited has been tremendous. I know it's hard, but truly appreciated.
Yeah, and hopefully this can find some kind of space where truth is always the best aspect of people coming forward. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the state police too, because I've worked with them for 42 years, and they come every week to do news stories, and we always want to be careful on this news desk that we don't say something that sort of depicts the whole deal as being the whole state police or the whole district attorney's office or anything like that. We want to sort of categorize things.
There's no question, man. There's nothing easy about it. You and I talked about it, not that it had anything to do with this. We talked about Frank Bason earlier. What stand-up class act, right?
Yep.
Christine Russell, stand-up class act.
Mm-hmm.
Family of Mr. Hall, stand-up class act. The Lacy family has been a stand-up class act. And Kyren Lacy, to me, was a stand-up class act. There's no winner here. We're all lost. But at least we have a little more accuracy. And at least the second side of the story is told.
When you were at his funeral, you got up and spoke.
I did.
And you looked at him and you made a promise to him. Is this kind of what the promise you were talking about, finding out what took place?
Yeah. His parents had given me a pin of his picture. And at that funeral, I took it home with me, obviously, but as he's sitting there, he had always asked me previous to that, Mr. Matt, you got me, dog? Kyren, I promise you, I got you, dog. So I get home and I took that pen. It's got his picture on it, and I kept it out every day. And I wrote on the back of it, I got you, dog. Never let it leave that side. And this is my version, bringing clarity. Bringing his version is me telling him, I got you, dog. Whatever that's worth, I don't know. I hope that he's looking down and has a little peace, because he didn't go out with peace.
All right, so that's pretty much the end of it, man. This was the last like 10 minutes of that was hard to listen to. It really was. Shout out to Cloud, Neely, Francis, Amos #1 for the $10 super chat. They said white supremacy or anti-blackness evil equals overcharging for FBA or under protections for FBA equals blood on white supremacist hands. I completely agree, and I appreciate you. This is a sad story all the way around. It really is. But before I actually drop the link for people to come up, I wanted to go over this tweet from this person right here. Now, I'm sure there were plenty of these going around when all of this was happening in its inception, but I didn't catch it because, again, this is one of those stories that got buried and we didn't learn about it until the truth came out, which was like a week or so ago. And it's coming from this person whose name is Jack Mack. I wonder if they're attached to Barstool Sports, because I'm looking at that label or that logo and it looks like Barstool. And if they are attached to Barstool, that tells me all I need to know. So this Jack Mack said, and this was back in January, shortly after the incident happened, January 10th, 2025. He said, Kyren Lacy is wanted on homicide charges. I tweet out photo of Kyren Lacy pretending to shoot somebody, and I'm called a racist. All you can do is laugh. Now, the picture that he's talking about is something that Kyren would do as an end goal performance. You know how like all the football players have their own little end goal touchdown dance or whatever they do, or just, you know, a gesture. Doesn't mean nothing by it for the most part. But he wrote that. And he ended up getting checked and cooked behind it. And that's how he chose to respond. Well, look what he came back with after the truth came out shortly. Well, not shortly thereafter, but later on after the truth eventually did come out. So this was the post right here that he made. This post right here. And that's Kyren Lacy right there on the sidelines. And he says, LSU standout wide receiver Kyren Lacy wanted on charges of negligent homicide, felony, hit and run. And he posted up the picture of him like doing, his thing. He made it seem like Kyren Lacy was out there and he had a whole bunch of firearms in his hand, like he was about to like literally go out there and do something, and tried to use that as a justification as to why he believed that he was up on homicide charges. Like he tried to use that picture as a way to try to prove a point. This is what Jack Mack had to say a couple days ago. I apologize for this tweet, and I want to properly acknowledge that I was wrong. I judged based off evidence reported and could have waited for further evidence to come out like it did today. He can take his apology and shove it up his bar stool. And that's what many people said. Well, they didn't say exactly what I said, but there was a lot more people that were a little bit more colorful than I was. He meant what he said the first time in the tweet that I just read to y'all before this one. He didn't have any proof, no evidence. He just saw this young black man and decided he was guilty right off rip with no evidence, no proof. He didn't even know the whole story, and he just saw that. He saw a young black man and just said, oh, guilty. The same thing they did with Kyren Lacy is the same thing that they did with Carmelo Anthony. Or the same thing that they do with all young black men. Why? Because they put that stigma on black men, especially young black men, that they're inherently violent. These are just two tweets right here from the same person at two different times. I can only imagine what a lot of others had to say. And you wonder why I always say they are their clan ancestors. This is why. All right, y'all. So what I'm about to do now is drop the link in the chat for anybody who would like to come up. I will be putting y'all on a timer today. You get 3 minutes. Like y'all know how it goes. So if anybody would like to come up and lend their voice to this, feel free to go right on ahead. Oh shoot, I already got 3 people that came up. Wallow, what's going on?
What's going on, Torian? What's going on, everybody in the chat? I would like to send my condolences to Mr. Lacy because this young man did not deserve this, because he was going to be a late first, early second round pick. He was going to be a top 2 round pick. That's how good he was. That people don't understand. He was a very good player. He never had any off the field issues. If anybody wanted to know, now yes, some of them LSU boys, they kind of go a little crazy and stuff, but he was just on the field talk. He won't nothing like that. It pissed me off because it was for them to blame this man, this young boy, for what happened, and he's on basically a football field away. It was wait a minute, how can you blame someone that literally had nothing to do with the situation? And for him, he felt bad because it was everybody don't believe him. Is basically the officer's word over his, and it's no, I'm innocent. You know how society is today. It's, oh well, you're on guilty to prove innocent, which it should have never been the case with him. And I do feel bad for his family because they lost a loved one over something stupid. How many black people have lost their lives or have taken their lives over stuff like this? We've heard this time and time again. Remember that story in Rikers, Torian?
Yeah.
About y'all know what I'm talking about. It's tiring to keep hearing these types of stories over and over and over again. And that jackass from Barstool talking about, so I know he had commented, he had said something about, I forgot what he said, something to the effect of he wished you never said. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you did, because fuck you. Excuse my language, but you sitting here judging somebody based off what they do on the field. It's on the field activities. And leave it at that, and I'll land my plane there. Be one.
Appreciate you. Yes, all your streams, Khalif Browder. I was sitting here trying to think of the brother's name that Wallow was talking about out of Rikers. Yeah, Khalif Browder. That was another story of an innocent young black man over an alleged stolen laptop. Shout out to Doc Spencer for the $20 super sticker. I appreciate it. All right, next up we got Denzimas. What's going on?
What's good? I just genuinely want to know what in the hell that officer could. I don't know what in the hell could possibly make that officer think that he wouldn't get in trouble with this situation when his dumb ass was wearing a freaking body cam. I really don't know what he thought. How arrogant can you be? Like, how arrogant can you be to lie like that? And they have the nerve to say we're low IQ. Are you like, okay? See, I'm just. I know there's laws on the books against this, but I really hope this is one of those situations where we do not let it go, because if we do, this will set a precedent for these cavelings to keep going on and doing this. You know, thankfully, us FBAs are the reason why these body cams are a thing in the first place. But still, these officers need to be punished. He needs to, personally, if it were up to me, I would have his ass in a jail. I would have him die in darkness and have this young man's picture all throughout the walls of that prison so he can never forget what he did to that young man. This guy had his whole life ahead of him and he stole it from him. This is just pure deviltry at its finest. Pure deviltry. And I heard that one of the students that knows this man's mother, they said that she was crying. Like, I really feel sorry for this man's mother and his family. So just to know that your son's not ever coming back because some goddamn troglodyte cave beast lied on him for no reason. But, you know, like, fortunately, though, this is getting blown up. It's getting blown up. People are talking about it. And I genuinely hope that there's charges pressed against this officer, because he needs to go to jail. Like, this can't be let go. But that's pretty much it, Terrain, because this is getting on my nerve. Like, these people get on my nerve, bruh. B1.
I appreciate you coming up. B1. Shout out to Denzimas for coming up. All right, next up we got. Oh, I'm sorry. We got Mr. Williams. What's going on?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to say, because I didn't watch the whole attorney thing. I decided to exercise because I didn't know if I was going to be able to focus and listen to all that, because I heard some of it and it's upsetting. Like the brother, what was his name? The one that just came on.
Oh, Denzimas?
Yeah, like when he said how I guess the mother was crying, but what I hate about that is that they reopened the womb and brought out all this stuff that the cop did. I don't even want to know her reaction to that, because you just reopened her pain and added more by showing this cop did everything in his power to ruin this boy's life.
You know what? He to let me pause it right quick.
Right.
To the attorney's credit, he most likely got permission from his family to do this. I don't want to believe that he just put it out there without talking to the family first. He probably spoke to them first and asked them if the people want to know what's going on. Do you want me? Is it okay if I put this out there? If you don't want me to, then I won't because at the end of the day, whether we knew the whole truth or not, it still doesn't bring him back. So I want to believe to be professional and courteous of the family's emotions. I want to believe that he spoke with the family first before doing this.
Right. Well, she may have already seen it too.
Yeah.
And really wanted it out there. I'm gonna hurry up though. But another thing is, it kind of like when they're hiding video footage, I start thinking about the Roddy Hinton case again. I don't know why it popped up in my head, but that police chief, that Miss Connecticut one, you know, you had witnesses saying he wasn't driving. Now, remember, this heifer was breaking down his whole route.
Yeah.
Where are the cameras? And I try to find an update on that case. Nothing. Crickets. But yeah, so people are asking, where's the cameras? Because if he took this route and you know it, you mean tell us that there ain't no traffic cameras to show this driving. So that's something else that's gonna be in the back of my mind. But I'm about to get out of here. Thanks for having me up, man. Talk to y'all later.
All right. Appreciate you coming up. Shout out to Mr. Williams for coming up. And next up, we got Church. What's going on?
Blessed, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's good to hear. Shout out to everybody in the chat, all the family. First and foremost, my condolences to the family, and shout out to his attorney for actually putting putting everything on the line for it. You know what I mean? Because he could have left it alone.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact of the matter is,
but like the attorney said, I don't know if you caught it or not. The stuff that he presented in this video, that was going to be given to the grand jury. Everything that this was going to vindicate him. What we saw right here, but unfortunately, he took his life 2 days before they was going before that grand jury, all because of how the media slandered him. And he saw all of that, and the pressure got to him, and he couldn't handle it. And then that's when he unfortunately took his life. So he took his life before his innocence was proven. Now his innocence is proven after he's gone.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and I was going to do a broadcast on this earlier, but I saw that you were doing this broadcast, and I hadn't heard this interview yet. So it was important for me to take a step back and just push it back so that I can hear this interview. And I'm glad I did, because there was a lot of other issues that was basically brought to light that I didn't read about when I was reading up on this case. And I have like several articles, and it did speak about how the attorney, he felt in his heart of hearts that the evidence that was going to be submitted would have vindicated him. And just 2 days. And unfortunately, that's horrible, and I'm gonna be 100% with you. To all the people who was demonizing this kid in the very same way they were demonizing Carmelo Anthony, in the very same way that they love to sit here and try to throw us under the bus any chance that they get as soon as they think that we did something wrong. I'm gonna be honest. I hope they all get their just desserts, and that's just me saying, let karma work the way karma works. Because as Dezemus, he brought up the fact, he was like, I know there's laws against this. Actually, there isn't any laws against this. And the good thing that's coming out of this, and I hope that his family, put all of their manpower behind it as well. But lawmakers out in Louisiana are now calling for this young man to have his own act, right? So it's going to be called the Kyren Lacy Act. And any official that deliberately does what that officer did, they would be held accountable for it. So I'm hoping that they get behind that measure, because it's one thing when family members get taken away, right? A lot of the times they get paid and they go silent. Right now, they have an opportunity to make sure nothing like this happens to anybody else again. And I hope they take that opportunity. But family, thank you for allowing me to come up, man. I'm gonna go ahead and hold the rest of my stuff, because the anger inside of me, I'm trying to stay calm, and I don't want to spill all that not violence, but vulgar talking on your platform. So family, I'm just gonna save it till tomorrow. But much love to you, family. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming up. All right, shout out to Church for coming up. Next up, we got Saya 1374. What's going on?
Hi, Torian. I had one question after all this crap. The cop gets off. What about that woman that caused the accident?
Exactly. That's another question that needs to be answered as well. I mean, they are like, that's why I said the fix was already in. Like the ticket for driving too close, like that's it. She's the one that caused the accident, and then took the ticket back.
Yeah. I have to admit, I am so angry. I'm trying to talk to have some sense, because I feel the same way. I think that police officer should be at the bottom of the flipping jail, along with that woman that caused the accident. It just gets old. It gets old that this keeps happening over and over over again, and we don't get any justice. And I am so sorry for Kyren Lacy's family. I really
Mhm.
am.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's all I have to say. Thank you for letting me share.
All right, appreciate you coming up. Andrea, I just put the link in the chat and I put your name next to it, so all you got to do is click it. All right, next up we got AW1. What's going on?
What's going on, Torian in chat? Yeah. Oh, first off, Torian, from about yesterday, I was just messing with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. Yeah. Like to have fun here sometimes, but back to serious business. Yeah, this case. You know what it reminds me of, man? This goes back to like Mike Brown. Can you remember how that prosecutor was so shady in that case? How they left
Mm-hmm.
out the two white witnesses and said, "Hey, he had his effing hands up"
Yeah.
and stuff. And not to mention Trayvon Martin, some of the shady stuff they did in that case. That prosecutor, she was so happy when the case was over. So happy.
Exactly.
But yeah, everyone needs to be investigated in this. This is ridiculous. This boy needs a law. I wonder if Donald Trump and JD Vance are going to make a statement about this. No,
Oh,
they
please.
won't.
The fact, listen, they didn't even talk about this. They were too busy talking about what was going on with Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony to give a damn about with this. And
So much for America first, right?
And this happened back in January. The incident itself happened in January, but him taking his own life happened in April.
Well, you know what it is. They're pandering to their base. If the guy,
Yeah.
if the guy's white, he's right. I'm just being, you got the salesman and that orange dude. You say something that hurt his feelings. Okay, you're gone. Your show's gone. Your show's no ratings. And yeah, I'm mocking him. He deserves it. Oh, but I gotta be careful where he cancels you too and me. Comes from my life. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. This police department needs to be investigated. Some charges need to be. They should lose their badges, their jobs, and be under the jail. And Tori, you keep up the great work. What you're doing on here, man. Be one. Stay woke.
Be one. I shout out to AW1 for coming up. Okay, let's see. Who do we have next coming up? Oh,
heed my command and reclaim these relics of hatred.
Hurricane Nisi, what's going on?
First of all, good evening, Torian. Good evening, family in the chat. My quick statement, but don't be fooled by my tone, Torian. You know I'm enraged.
Mm-hmm.
This is my opinion only. That officer who coerced that witness statement needs to be charged with first-degree murder of Kyren Lacy. I land there.
All right, shout out to Ms. Nisi for coming up. All right, let's see. Next up, we got JD Informant. What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on, Torian? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Excuse the noise in the back. Got a little 6-year-old watching the phone. But like when I saw everything going down with all this, first of all, the officer did coerce that person into giving a statement. Even in that but the video, the dude said no. The woman caused the wreck, and then we find out that the woman was eating Funyuns in between her lap. If you guys
had music, all them distractions,
yes,
eating Funyuns, had music playing, like you was not paying attention and driving, tailgating, like really.
You could have been like, instead of tailgating, you could have been just, relaxed. I mean, you eating, you driving, you got all this going on. Then you cause a wreck. They gave her a ticket. I forgot what the ticket was for, but they give her a ticket
for driving too close.
Driving too close. There you go. And then on top of all this information that's out there, we find out there's a video camera that actually shows his very ugly looking car. It's an ugly looking car, but nothing to do with him. But that's an ugly color and everything. But you can see the car. The car is plainly the fourth car in line. After the wreck happens, and then another car pulls up, then you see that ugly green car comes through, which is his car, proving that he was innocent the whole time, that he had nothing to do with the goddamn incident. But these people, who was it? Was it the sheriff officer or the prosecutor? Held the information. I think it was the prosecutor, right?
Mm-hmm.
The prosecutor held all that information, hanging it over somebody's head, knowing that it could have consequences. But I'm pretty sure they didn't know it was going to have consequences, but they should have dealt with this. That way he could have been released. He wouldn't have to worry about this. It would have been on his head. The NFL came after him. People on social media came after him. All these people came after him because these sorry people were sitting on their butts on a public dime, and they pretty much cost this dude his life at the end of the day. With that being said, going back to the police officer was coercing people, which is illegal. You would think that's illegal. So I'm most definitely for having a bill in his name because of what the police officer did. He was coercing people. He was giving people statements. He was actually leading them statement. He said, "Make sure you input this information," which is leading your witness into giving a statement. This police officer should be suspended, man. He should be suspended, fired, whatever you want to do, and it should be without pay. This boy took his life because of it was just negligence from everybody, from the prosecutor to the police officer. The whole chain of command in which that's supposed to be protecting people did not protect him. They are the reason that he's no longer here today. They are the reason that he, did what unfortunately what he did when he was innocent in the whole thing. Like I said, you look at the video, you can clearly see that green car. It sticks out. You can see that green car was fourth in line. And if anything, you could have blamed the third person, but even the third person was innocent. So we know who it was. So that's all I want to say. I mean, this is very disgusting behavior presented by the police officer, especially when he went up to the other person's house and the person said that, no, the woman caused the wreck. He didn't say the man caused the wreck. He said a woman caused the wreck. And we knew she was eating Funyuns. I don't know what she's doing now, but I hope she doesn't sleep well at night after all this. Mm-hmm. And she killed that dude, right? I mean, she deleted that dude.
The person who was in the accident, they did die.
Oh yeah, that's sad. Rest in peace to him too, man. So two people are gone because of her mistakes. RIP to both of them, and I'm out, man.
All right. Shout out to JD and Foreman for coming up. And we only got one more person. So if y'all see the link, don't click it. This is the last person that's coming up. Andrea, what's going on?
Hi, Tori and family. I want to speak on the mother's side and how she's feeling. Okay, I lost my son in 2022 August, 3 days after my birthday. He was
sorry to hear that.
Taken out, and I'm still suffering from that. So as a mother, I know how she's feeling. I have been hospitalized like 15 times since that, medical issues. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm now living in Florida, but I refuse to leave this state until I get justice for my son. It's so unfair the way the system is set up, for us to get justice for our loved ones. The system is against us, whether anybody take us out, even if it looks like us, it's just hard. And they let this guy walk. At first they told me the guy was in his 40s. And when I got out the hospital, because my youngest son, you had to come to the hospital and tell me he's a registered nurse. I mean, I just lost it. And then they came back on August the 8th, not August the 8th, I'm sorry, January the 8th, and told me that they wasn't going to charge the guy. I said, why? And they said because he was standing his ground. And I said, how can he stand his ground? Because my youngest son saw the video. He wouldn't let me see it. But I heard the 7 shots. And this guy was inside his car. And my son was nowhere near his car. He said something to my son. My son turned his head. And that's when he unloaded on my son. 7 shots from inside his car. Now, explain to me, how were you standing your ground when you could have driven off? There was no cars on the street. And you're standing your ground, but you're inside your car and you're shooting? And my son doesn't have a weapon. And that's the hurtful part of this system. How can you be standing your ground? Okay? You're not standing your ground if my son is not assaulting you. My son is nowhere near you. You shot my son in the back. And then after he did it, he had nerve to get out of his car and call the police and said, I just shot a nigga's head off.
Wow.
I mean, that's hurtful. It's so hurtful. It's painful. For over 2 years, I could not sleep in my room because I would hear my son knocking on my window. And it's hurtful. It's painful. We have to do something about these laws, for our people, how people could easily just take our lives and nothing is done about it. You know, it's wrong. And I feel for the mother about her son. And I also feel for the other victim. And the woman who caused the accident, she should be put under the jail. Okay? Because they still could tell a lie on us, you know?
Yeah.
They still could tell a lie on us. And then, you know, you could be put in prison, you know, over a
Yeah.
white lie. As I call them, Miss Ann. You know, Miss Ann can still tell a lie on us. And then, you know, we can suffer consequences for it over a lie till this very day. And 2025, it seems like nothing has changed, just a different way. Getting free labor offers, you know. And that's all I have to say.
All right,
I'm
I
sorry
appreciate
for
you.
the rant. I'm
Oh
sorry for
no,
the rant.
oh
I
no,
had to get it out, you know.
no problem. I appreciate you coming up and telling that story.
Thank you,
You have a
Tori and the family. Love you all.
all right. You have a good one. Wow. Condolences to Andrea. That I was not expecting to hear that. But it's just crazy how there are stories out there like the Kyren Lacy story, and you never know how people are affected by it because they may have something personal that went on in their lives with a loved one that was maybe similar or like maybe not so similar, but it hit you because of something that personally went on in your life. And it's crazy because I think that story is relatable across the board with a lot of Black people. Unfortunately, I always thought that even when I was younger, that it was always weird when I would hear stories about kids passing before their parents. And I thought, at one time it was always a thing, I guess at that time, a fantasy of mine that the parents would always pass on before the kids, and it would be the cycle when the kids have kids, then the parent of them would die. But then when you get older and you hit adulthood and you realize that's not the case, unfortunately. It's sometimes not even the case in fantasy. But that was a very deep story right there. Shout out to Andre, and definitely condolences to her and her family. But anyway, y'all, Andrea was the last person to come up and speak to this topic, and what a way to end it off. So this is going to bring this live to a close. Shout out to everyone that came through. We actually got through this a whole lot faster than I thought we would. Shout out to Lisa, Claude, Neely, Francis Amos, number one, and Doc Spencer for contributing to the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Of course, y'all know y'all will be getting the 2 videos tomorrow per usual, but there will also be another live tomorrow at the same time. The live tomorrow is going to be way more lighter than this one. But I had to do this live ahead of the one that I was going to do today, just so I can get this out of my system, and just say that to speak on it further than what I did on Saturday. Condolences again to Kyren Lacy, family. RIP to him, even the victim who ended up losing their life in the accident itself. But with that being said, y'all, we are about to get up out of here. Y'all enjoy whatever's the remainder of your evening, and we will be back on here tomorrow. Be safe, and most importantly, be one.